The Tenino sandstone's blessings have risen and fallen over the years with the economic times and the building standards. Sandstone and structural stone was becoming a thing of the past in the 20s. Tenino operated into the 30s. This quarry operated into about 1938. Currently, we are cutting decorative stone in my operation. I came to Tenino to cut stone in 1989, and I will continue carving as long as I can. There is a future for Tenino sandstone. It's a matter of the economic times. The quarries have risen and fallen over the years. They've seen their glories and they've seen their downtimes. Times will continue, and there is a future for these stones.
It's fun to go there and see the quarries that are still in operation and to know that they constructed from here so many buildings across the American West. An amazing place, one of my favorite places.
I had to fight for a lot of the resources that I needed, such as counseling and a lot of the post-traumatic stress that comes with such a traumatic event. Every year since, there has been several more instances like mine where wildland firefighters have gotten extremely hurt and even killed.
I'm born right here in Washington State, Tacoma, Washington, actually a block away from where we're sitting right now.
TVW's Washington to Washington Blake Decision episode has won the NATOA Award of Excellence.
Tacoma was a lot different then. It was on the precipice of thriving. And then crack cocaine came and decimated my community.
Winning this prestigious national award is not only an honor, but a validation of our commitment to excellence in journalism. Check out this hard-hitting episode examining Washington's drug possession policy at tvw.org. We're grateful for this acknowledgement and look forward to continuing to serve our viewers with the highest standards of journalism.
We're gleaning for solutions to these problems.
Here on the north end of Bainbridge Island is one of the gems of not only Puget Sound, but our entire state. And that's the Blowdale Reserve. Francis and Virginia Blowdale set out to create a botanical garden. They set out to create a Japanese-style grounds. And you walk through the wooded lands and across the grasslands and so forth, you'll see all these influences just jump out at you. Blowdale home is now the Manor House, and it's open to the public, and you can tour it today, as well as look at the other very interesting buildings.
My name's Roland Thompson. I'm the Executive Director of Allied Daily Newspapers of Washington, and Keith Shipman is with me from the Washington State Association of Broadcasters, and Fred Obie from the Washington State Newspaper Publishers Association, and we're hosting this pre-session briefing, which used to be hosted by the Associated Press, who sadly no longer has a reporter here in the building. So we were asked to take it over a couple of years ago. Thank you for coming today. First up is the Legislative Priorities Poll, the Crosscut Elway. It's Crosscut this year again, is it not? Cascade. Well, okay. Stuart Elway is the Pacific Northwest leading pollster. He's a son of this place. His father was a state senator just like mine, and he grew up in the business. His first brush with elective politics, or his first job in elective politics, was in 1968 and the Evans second campaign, I think, when you were about 2 years old. And has a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate from the University of Washington, degrees in communications, so he's one of us, but he's also extremely well versed in the political field and is the Pacific North, as I said, the Pacific Northwest leading pollster. Stuart, thank you.
First time I walked into this building was 70 years ago. I'm here to report on the recent Crosscut, I'm still doing it, Cascade PBS Elway poll. This is a poll that we've been conducting on a regular basis since 1992. We affiliated with Cascade PBS in 2018. And every January we do this poll of looking forward to the legislative session. You can see the voter there is marking all threes on there, so I'm not sure what that means. We conducted 403 registered voters between Christmas and New Year's. We do it by cell phone, landline, and text. Margin of error is plus or minus 5%. These are the demographic profile. The state over here, we divide. You can get the crosstabs as well as the questionnaire with the data at the Cascade PBS site. They're releasing the stories this morning, and there's links in there so you can get the full crosstab tables. And we divide the state into these 5 regions that you see up here, with Seattle inside of King County as a separate region also. So it pretty much matches the known demographics of the state. One of the things that I'll point out this time is that party ID. And the way I ask party identification is, if you had to register by party in order to vote in Washington, would you register as Republican, Democrat, or Independent? And that's the same question I've asked for 30-some years. The partisan identification dropped 5 points each since last September. So it sort of peaked in going into the election, and now people are tired of parties and want to be independents again now that the election is over with. One of the things that we have asked every time is what I call the Voter Outlook Index. It's a series of 4 questions, very simple. Looking over the next year, how do things look? Will things be getting better or worse? And we ask it for the county, the state, your community, and your household. And then we combine that into an overall index of, if you said much better on all of those 4, you'd have a +8. If you said much worse on all of those, you'd have a -8. The index has always been between the 2s. So this is the last 10 years or so. and you see it has trended downward over the last 10 years, bottoming out last July, which is at that minus 1.7, which is the lowest we've had since I started doing it in 1992. And then it popped up in December of 22, and then back sort of even, and then up again going into the election, and then dropped again after the election. So we're now back in minus territory. In this current poll, Republicans, the one that we did in December after the election, Republicans were substantially more optimistic than Democrats, which is a reversal from what it was before the election, when the Democrats were very optimistic and the Republicans were kind of in the dumps. But that has switched this time. These are the four components, and this is from the current survey. So 56% said things are looking better for themselves. It is, and then 45% for the community, 36% for the state, 49% for the country. It is typical for the country to score the lowest on this. It sort of usually goes my own household, things are looking good, say a majority of the people, and then it sort of goes down the further away you get from home, and the country's the lowest. But this time, there were more people optimistic about the near-term future of the country than they were for their community or for the state. And as always, as I said, the respondents are most optimistic about their own situation, and this has been the case every time I have asked this question since 1992, and that's almost 90 times I've asked that. Although even here, the personal optimism at 56% is the lowest point it's been since July of 22. And it's only the fourth time it's been this low since 1992. So it's the best of the four, but not as high as it typically is. So outlook and the state being the lowest is also unusual. And I don't, I'll come back to that right here. So here's the four components over the last 5, and I just took the December. We do this in December and then in the middle of the summer, and I just took the Decembers as sort of looking toward the new year. So the last 5 Decembers. For the country, it was high in December 20, which is at the beginning of the Biden, just between the Biden election and his inauguration, at 54% positive, and as he trailed down since then down to 34% positive in 23. Proportion of optimists for the country now is higher than it has been at any time, as you can see, since the beginning of the Biden administration. Outlook for the state has trended down for the last 5 years and as at a near record low. The 36% who said things are looking better for the state is the lowest proportion on record, and the 51% who said it's worse. The 51% who said it's worse is the second highest number worse, who said worse, if that makes sense. So the highest number was in July of 22. So the state numbers have trailed down. And again, I don't we didn't probe beyond this, so I don't have a good explanation for that, but it is notable. So this is the community also trending down, and your own household also pretty steady, but trending down a little bit. So people are in not a very great mood right now, you have to say. Back to the state there for a minute. Both Republicans and Democrats were more likely to say things were getting worse than better for the state. For Republicans, 62% said things were getting worse. For Democrats, it was 50%. And this is unexpected since the Democrats have total control of state government, and typically the partisan outlook aligns with partisan control. When the Republicans are in control, they have a more positive outlook, and vice versa for the Democrats. So the state numbers is unusual. Another question we've asked every January is, what is the issue that the legislature should focus on, in your opinion? This is the last 2 years, and so this is an open-ended question. People say whatever they're going to say. We record their verbatim answer, and then we code those answers, and then we put them into these categories. So the economy was number 1 this year, with 34% in that category. The economy was the number 1 named by every demographic category in the poll. Every age category, every income category, every education category. The only exception was Republicans, who named it second behind taxes. So for Democrats, the top 5 issues categories were the economy, homelessness, public safety, education, and environment. For Republicans, it was taxes, the economy, public safety, budget and spending, and immigration. And as I said, these are categories of answers. The top 5 particular answers that people gave, and there's a table of the full response, again, on that top line data in the Cascade PBS story. The top issues, all at 12 or 14%, were taxes, crime, cost of living, and housing costs were the top 4 individual issues that people named. This is, I have this going back to 1992, but it wouldn't fit on the screen. So here's the last 10 years. The yellow indicates the number 1 issue, just so it's easier to see. And you see the economy. There's a saying in the polling business that the main issue is usually it's either the economy or something else. And as you can see, 4 out of the last 4 years and 5 out of the last 7 years, the economy has been top. It got toppled by the COVID pandemic in 21, which was named by 52%, which there hasn't been a number approaching that high a percentage for any other category for all the years I've been doing this. Homelessness popped up in 20. The asterisk there is that homelessness used to be included with social programs and social services, but right as you see right along in that 1920, it started to have so much mention that I made it its own category. Education was the top issue in the last teens, but apparently the legislature solved that issue because it's now pretty much gone off the screen. So we went to several topical questions that will be pertinent in this particular session. This is a question that we've asked in various forms over the years. This is the wording of the question. The cost to support the current state government programs and services is about $36 billion a year. The state is projecting a potential budget deficit of $10 to $12 billion over the next 4 years. There are a number of possible reasons for this. In your opinion, what do you think is the most significant why the state is short of money? Waste and overspending. We gave them choices. Waste and overspending said 40%, 23% said inflation of the economy, 9% said the government was too big, tries to do too much. 14% said demand is just outpacing the ability to keep up. That option was new this year. It wasn't presented to voters in previous years. And then other things. 2010, So 15 years ago and then 20 years ago, as a kid, I say we asked these same questions. In 2010, 38% mentioned inflation economy, and then government too big. And then there was, glad Tim's here today, because 9% said voter initiatives were the cause of the problem. And in 2005, 15% mentioned voter initiatives as one of the reasons why the state didn't have enough money. Because state government may not have enough income to fully fund programs and taxes, the state legislature may have to either cut spending, raise taxes, or some combination of both. If you had to choose, what would you say the legislature should put the most emphasis on? Should we have bets before I put the screen up? Cut programs, 66%. That's been fairly consistent over the years. Although it's, and again, in this survey, particular survey, we didn't probe beyond that, but it's not as, it's not as predictable as it might seem, because when we have probed with further questions, people will say, well, they want to trim programs. They don't want to eliminate entire programs. They just want to trim some. And that's consistent with this next slide too. But I wanted to say that I looked, as I was preparing for this, I looked back in January of '92, waste and overspending was the #1 reason then, but it was only 33% at that time. For Republicans, 59% said it was waste. For Democrats in our survey, the top two were inflation at 32% and demand at 31%. If taxes need to be raised, would you favor increasing taxes on business, the wealthy, or taxes that everyone would pay? All right, there we go. Taxing the wealthy, which is consistent with recent election results, I suppose. We can see 3%, the AWB is doing their job. Again, through follow-up questions, not this year, but in past years, again, we've asked this question. People will say,